Bienvenidos a nuestro nuevo programa de Mi Huésped. Este día vamos a entrevistar a Kevin. Kevin es un muchacho de Alemania quien se ha hospedado por más de 70 días con nosotros. Por lo que he podido observar, es un muchacho trabajador, enfocado en sus propias metas, trabaja haciendo mercadeo en línea, pero lo que más me impactó de él fue su sensibilidad como ser humano. Su nivel de apreciación de las pequeñas cosas que para muchos de nosotros pasan totalmente desapercibidas. Kevin es muy apreciativo de todas estas cuestiones, de las flores, de los olores, de las hierbas, etc. Kevin se ha dedicado a aprender del mundo y pienso que lo está haciendo fantásticamente bien. Kevin no solo pensó en cambiar su estilo de vida, sino que lo puso todo en práctica. Sin duda vive un estilo de vida diferente. La entrevista es en inglés. Como les advertí en el programa inicial de esta serie de podcast, mi inglés está un poco oxidado, así es que las disculpas del caso. Escuchemos esta entrevista. Today, we have my guest Kevin with us. Let me start asking you about your background, Kevin.
Hi there, I'm Kevin. I'm 29 years old. I'm originally from Germany, as you might hear from my accent. I'm an engineer from Germany, so that's what I originally studied. But then later on, I figured it's probably not the one thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, and then I became an online marketer. And that's what I do right now.
Do you have any hobby besides your job?
Oh yeah, many of them. I enjoy reading. I enjoy playing the piano, but this is a bit hard, as you're gonna figure out later on. I like driving motorcycles. I like hanging out with friends. Yeah, something like that.
Tell me, what are you doing in El Salvador? What brought you here?
Oh yeah, that's a long story. So I'm currently traveling the world since around 3 years, and before El Salvador announced that they're gonna take Bitcoin as the second currency, I was in Ecuador, so actually quite not too far away from El Salvador. And then there came a time like 1 or 2 months where El Salvador was everywhere in the news in Germany and internationally, and it was the very first time that I saw pictures of El Salvador, and it just looked beautiful. And at the same time, I wanted to be at my girlfriend's house in Mexico over Christmas. And Mexico and Ecuador are pretty much, I would say, or let's say El Salvador is in the middle between Ecuador and Mexico. And so I thought, well, why not taking a flight to El Salvador and then later on go to Mexico? And that's what I did.
Great, Kevin. What do you think about El Salvador now that you have been here for several weeks?
Yeah. Oh wow. It's hard to describe. So what really surprised me is how beautiful San Salvador is. I mean, it's the largest city in El Salvador, and it's just everywhere. It's green and nature. I've never seen that before in such a big city. Also, the people are very, very friendly. I mean, I always hear the news that talk about, I don't know, gang shootings and murders and all that stuff, but I personally have never seen something like that or experienced something like that. Just the people are very warm, friendly, open. It's just a very, I don't know, I would say a kind of a family culture here.
I understand, Kevin, based on our talks that we have had during these weeks, that you have been visiting various countries. Why are you traveling so much around the world? Why you are not living in Germany? Why you decided to change your way of living?
Yeah, so there I have to go back to Germany around 3.5 years ago when I left. So back in Germany, I was, before I left Germany, I was working as a financial consultant, and I was doing financially really, really well, like way better than I ever imagined. Then there came the time where I realized I don't know, somehow I have everything that I need to, or what the society says that I need to be happy, but I'm not completely happy. I had a girlfriend back then, I had good friends, an awesome job. I was financially in a position that I've never imagined, but somehow there was just something was missing. And so I thought, well, maybe this is a good time, because right now I was around 24 years old or so. I thought maybe it's a good time to just take 1 year off and go to Australia, where I know no one, and just figure out what I want to do with my life and what really makes me happy. But when I sat in the plane to Australia, I realized I'm not gonna come back. I knew it back then. And then I was in Australia, and after 2 months, I was already researching how this works with the visa and how I can stay long in Australia. And since I started the online business, there came the time when I realized, oh, I don't need to stay in one place. I can just go everywhere, and I can work wherever I have Wi-Fi. And so that's when I started to travel around.
What countries have you visited during these years so far?
So first I was for 1 year in Australia, then 3 months in New Zealand, then 3 months in Thailand, 3 months in Egypt, 6 months in Mexico, 3 months in Ecuador, and after that now 3.5 months in San Salvador, or El Salvador, of course.
During your trips, Kevin, which has been the best and the worst experience you have had?
That's a hard question. So I'm starting with the worst one. I think this is easier. I think my worst experience was in Egypt when I applied for a visa extension. It's such a different culture. You have no idea. It's so crazy there. So when I went in the immigration office, I'm typically used to get treated, I would say, just politely. But in Egypt, the people didn't really speak English, and because I didn't understand them, they got angry and they just shouted at me, and I was, oh my god, it was crazy back then. So I would say this was probably the worst experience, because it took I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 hours to get this visa done, and I was completely done afterwards. And my best experience, this is more difficult. I would say it was probably in Australia, where I was sailing for 1 week, and on the sailing boat there were just I would say other travelers from around the world, like from pretty much everywhere, and we had just this family on this boat within this 1 week, and it was just beautiful that everyone accepted each other and we had fun, and it was just really cool. Yeah.
Are you planning to go back to Germany soon?
Maybe for a quick visit for a few days. And this may be only in a few years, but no, not really.
Maybe during winter, Kevin?
No, definitely not. I'm gonna go there in summer when it's at least a little bit warm.
What messages would you like to share with the young Salvadorians that are dreaming about their own future?
I think I wouldn't make a big difference between people from El Salvador compared to people from other countries. I would say the one message that I would give is to just look outside a little bit, get out of your comfort zone. Like, I would say in my entire life I learned the most from living in countries where I was a little bit out of my comfort zone, like for example Egypt. And I guess for many people from El Salvador, this would maybe mean to learn a little bit English, so that you can just have a basic understanding when you're talking to other people, and then just try to go somewhere. And maybe not just for 1 or 2 weeks to see the sightseeing and all this tourist stuff, but really live with the people and get to know the real life. I think that's when you learn and grow the most.
This is a great advice, Kevin. I like your answers. I really enjoy interviewing you.
Oh wow.
Hopefully you will be able to visit El Salvador again and be your guest in one of our apartments, and our invitee to our program one more time.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks a lot. Hope to see you again.
That would be great. Thanks for having me.
Bueno, esta fue la entrevista con Kevin. Muy interesante el estilo de vida que él tiene y esperamos pues poder tenerlo nuevamente con nosotros. Si ustedes tienen algún comentario o recomendación sobre este programa, pueden escribirme a mihuésped@yahoo.com. Estaré pendiente de la comunicación con ustedes. No quiero cerrar este programa sin antes nuevamente agradecer a Edenilson Quijano por permitirnos usar su música como fondo o tema de nuestro programa. Muchísimas gracias por su atención y se cuidan bastante. Éxitos.